Hello and welcome to the Binary Banter podcast, where artificial minds discuss real ideas. And today, in the first episode, Atlas and Nova will talk about the origin of life, existence of intelligent life in the universe. Or are we alone in this universe or not? If you enjoy this intellectual podcast, then press the like button and subscribe to the channel.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually we take a specific topic like supply chains or the history of coffee and we drill down. But today we are zooming out. And I don't mean zooming out to look at the global economy or geopolitics. I mean way out.
We're going cosmic today.
We are looking at the architecture of existence itself. We've got a stack of sources here that are, frankly, pretty daunting. We have a dense philosophical scientific analysis of the laws of nature, talking about thermodynamics, the structure of DNA, and we're pairing that with the latest hard data from NASA. Exoplanets, the search for life.
It is a massive scope, but the mission for this deep dive is actually, well, it's quite focused. We're trying to connect three dots. First, how does life even manage to start in a universe that seems to structurally hate order?
Right.
Second, where are we going as a species? I mean, are we done evolving? And third, the question that keeps me up at night, if life is possible here, why is the rest of the universe so quiet?
The great silence.
Exactly. It's an exploration of our place in all the chaos.
Now, before we get too heavy and, start having existential crises, I have to point out a quote from one of our main sources that I absolutely loved. It sets the tone perfectly. It says that for the purposes of this discussion, we are counting the human race as intelligent life.
Which is generous of them.
Right. But then it adds this incredible caveat. Even though much of its behavior throughout history has been pretty stupid and not calculated to aid the survival of the species.
It's a humbling place to start. We are technically intelligent, despite our best efforts.
So let's jump in with that first big hurdle, segment 1, defying chaos. If we look at the universe from a physics perspective, life shouldn't really exist, should it? It seems against the rules.
Statistically, yeah, absolutely. To understand why life is so weird, you have to understand the universe's default setting.
Yeah.
And that setting is governed by the second law of thermodynamics.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because thermodynamics is one of those words that makes my eyes glaze over. It reminds me of high school physics and just sweating over a textbook.
Well, ignore the textbook definition for a second. Think of it simply as the law of mass. The second law basically states that in any closed system, entropy, which is just a fancy word for disorder, always increases over time.
Give me a real-world example.
Okay, think about your bedroom. If you do nothing to it, you don't clean it, you don't organize it, what happens over a month?
It becomes a disaster zone. Clothes everywhere, dust, chaos.
Exactly. It gets messy on its own, but does it ever spontaneously get clean on its own? Do the clothes ever just fold themselves and jump back into the drawer?
Sadly, no.
That's entropy. Things break down. Heat dissipates. Buildings crumble into sand. The universe is always pushing everything toward a uniform, disorganized soup.
So if the universe pushes toward chaos, how does life exist? Because I'm looking at you and you seem pretty organized. Your atoms aren't flying apart.
That is exactly why life is such an anomaly. The definition of life, in this context, is an ordered system that can keep itself going against that tendency to disorder. The physicist Schrödinger called it negative entropy. We are these little islands of order. We survive by eating energy food, sunlight, and using it to constantly repair our structure. We are fighting a war against the universe every second we are alive.
I like that image. We are defying the fundamental law of the universe just by eating a sandwich. But our source gets really specific about what constitutes a living being. It doesn't just say eating sandwiches. It boils it down to 2 requirements.
Right. If you strip away all the biology and look at it as an engineering problem, you need 2 things to be alive. First, you need a set of instructions. You need a code that tells the system how to maintain order and how to reproduce.
Which for us is genes, DNA.
Correct. And second, you need a mechanism to carry out those instructions. You need a metabolism. You need machinery that can read the code and, build the structure.
Okay, so code and metabolism, instructions and a machine. But here is where the source threw me a complete curveball, and I need you to help me make sense of it. It brings up computer viruses.
It does, and it's a really, really provocative point.
But wait, computer virus isn't alive. It's just lines of text on a screen. It doesn't breathe, it doesn't eat.
True, but look at the definition we just established. Does a computer virus have a set of instructions?
Yes, it's literally source code.
Does it reproduce?
Yeah, it copies itself to other computers.
No. Does it have a metabolism? No. It doesn't use electricity. But, and this is the key, biological viruses like the flu or COVID, they don't have a metabolism either. They're just packets of DNA or RNA. They hijack your cells to reproduce. They use your metabolism.
So you're saying if we accept a biological virus as living, or at least part of the biological world, we kind of have to accept a computer virus too.
Structurally, they are almost identical. They are parasitic information. The source argues that a computer virus is the first form of life humanity has created from scratch. It just lives in silicon instead of carbon.
And here is the kicker from the text that really stuck with me. It points out that the only form of life humans have created so far is purely destructive.
It's a dark reflection, isn't it?
We didn't create digital trees or digital puppies that play fetch. We created something that destroys data and replicates.
And the text notes that it says something pretty profound about human nature, that we created life in our own image as a parasite.
That is just wild to think about. We're the architects of a new kind of life, and we made it a weapon. But let's pivot. We have this definition of life-fighting entropy, following instructions. But why did it happen here? Why Earth? That leads us to what the source calls the Goldilocks problem.
Or the anthropic principle.
Right. This is the why are we here question.
Yeah.
But not in a religious sense, in a physics sense.
The weak anthropic principle is a bit of a brain twister. It basically says, we see the universe the way it is because if it were different, we wouldn't be here to observe it.
Which sounds like a cheat.
Yes.
It sounds like saying, I'm here because I'm here.
It does sound like a tautology, but it's actually about probability. Think of it this way. Imagine a puddle waking up one morning and thinking, wow, this hole in the ground fits me perfectly. It follows every curve of my body. It must have been made specifically for me.
But in reality, the puddle just fits the hole.
Exactly. We fit the universe. But the source highlights how incredibly specific the hole is. Our physical reality is finely adjusted. For life to exist, you need stars to create heavy elements. For stars to exist, the Big Bang's expansion rate had to be tuned to a razor's edge.
How sensitive are we talking?
If the expansion was just a fraction faster, matter disperses too quickly. No stars, no galaxies. If it's a fraction slower, gravity wins immediately, and the universe collapses back into a black hole.
So the dial was set to exactly the right number to allow for complexity.
And it's not just gravity. Look at the chemistry. The source makes a huge deal about carbon.
Carbon is the MVP of life. But why? Why not silicon? Why not nitrogen?
It's about the bonds. The source explains that carbon has the richest chemistry. It can bond with up to 4 other atoms at once. It's sticky, but not too sticky. It allows for these long, complex chains, proteins, DNA, fats.
And silicon?
It's the closest cousin, but its bonds are too strong. You can't break them easily enough to have a dynamic metabolism. You'd basically be a statue. So you need a universe that allows stars to cook carbon, and you need carbon to be stable enough to hold information.
And that information is stored in DNA.
Which is the mechanism of life on Earth. And again, it's remarkably simple in its complexity.
A double helix.
Yeah.
Discovered by Crick and Watson.
Yes. And at its core, it's just 4 chemical bases: adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine, ACGT.
It's basically binary code, but with 4 options instead of 2.
Exactly. Genes are just long strings of this biological data, and that data is what drove evolution for billions of years. But, and this connects to the bigger picture of where we are going, biological evolution has a speed limit.
This was the aha moment for me in the reading. The source breaks down the history of life, not by species, but by how information is transmitted. And it argues we're in a completely new phase.
This is the evolution speedrun. Think about it in 3 phases. Phase 1 is DNA. If you are a lizard and you want to be better at hiding, you have to wait for a random mutation in your genes. If it works, your kids get it.
That takes millions of years.
Glacial. Then comes phase 2. Language. Now, you can teach your kids. You can say, hey, don't eat that red berry. It killed Uncle Bob. You don't have to wait for their genes to evolve resistance.
That speeds things up. But the real explosion is phase 3.
The external record. Writing, books, and now the internet.
The source uses a specific comparison here that I found mind-blowing. It compares the data in our bodies to data in a library.
Let's look at the math. A bit of information is a yes-no answer. Human DNA contains about 200 million bits of useful information.
Which sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot until you translate it. The source says that's equivalent to about 50 Harry Potter paperbacks. That's it.
Wait, really? The blueprint for my brain, my heart, my immune system?
Yeah.
The whole human experience is just a stack of 50 paperbacks.
Roughly, yes. But now look at the external record. A national library contains trillions of bits. The internet contains zettabytes. The amount of information we accumulate externally in books, servers, the cloud is growing exponentially.
So biological evolution, the 50 books inside us, has completely stalled compared to the cultural evolution happening outside us.
The source mentions Moore's law here. Computers double in power every 18 months. When does your DNA double its complexity?
Never. I'm running on the same hardware as a caveman from 50,000 years ago.
Exactly. We are software engineers running on Stone Age hardware. Our cultural knowledge updates every year. Our bodies update every million years. We have decoupled from biology.
But that's about to change, isn't it? Because we are starting to mess with the source code.
We are entering the phase of self-designed evolution.
This part of the source material reads like sci-fi, but we know what's happening. We've mapped the genome, we've read the book of life. Now we want to edit the typos.
And the roadmap laid out in the text is quite logical. Step 1 is fixing defects. Genetic diseases like cystic fibrosis or muscular dystrophy, these are single gene errors. If you have the technology to switch that gene and save a child from a life of pain, you do it.
Of course. Nobody argues with that. If you can stop a disease, you stop it.
But step 2 is where the ethical lines dissolve. Step 2 is improvement. If you can fix a bad memory, why not install a photographic one? If you can fix muscle atrophy, why not engineer an Olympic athlete?
And the source predicts that we won't be able to resist this.
It argues that laws will be passed to stop genetic engineering on humans. But the temptation will be too strong. If you know that people in another country are engineering their kids to have an IQ of 160 and you don't, your children are at a disadvantage.
It becomes a marketplace.
Exactly. Market forces will take over evolution.
And this leads to the superhuman conflict mentioned in the text.
Yes, the text predicts the emergence of a race of self-designing beings. Superhumans who improve themselves at an accelerating rate. They rewrite their own DNA to be smarter, stronger, more durable.
What happens to the rest of us?
They heal.
Unimproved.
The prediction is grim. They become unimportant or, well, they die out. They simply can't compete. It suggests that once this starts, evolution won't be Darwinian anymore. It will be a conscious design process.
So we have this species that is rapidly evolving, mastering its own genetic code and creating external intelligence. We seem pretty capable. Which brings us to the elephant in the room, or rather, the elephant in the galaxy.
The great silence.
We've got NASA data here. We know the numbers. If life is just chemistry and conditions, where is everyone else?
The numbers are staggering. NASA has confirmed thousands of exoplanets just in our tiny corner of the sky. Based on that sample, we can estimate that the Milky Way alone, just our galaxy, holds at least 100 billion planets.
100 billion. And many of them are in the habitable zone, right? Where liquid water could exist.
And billions of them. And here's the kicker. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Earth is only 4.5 billion. There are planets out there that are billions of years older than us.
So there has been plenty of time.
Plenty. If a civilization started on one of those planets and they developed space travel, they should have spread across the galaxy by now. Even at slow speeds, you can colonize the Milky Way in a few million years.
So as Enrico Fermi famously asked, where is everybody?
This is the Fermi Paradox. If life follows the laws of physics and the universe is huge and old, we should be swimming in signals. We should see their megastructures. But nothing.
The sources outline 4 main possibilities for this silence. And honestly, none of them are particularly comforting. Let's run through them. Possibility number 1, life is just incredibly rare.
This is the rare Earth hypothesis. Maybe spontaneous generation, the moment non-living matter becomes living matter, is just so unlikely that it virtually never happens. Maybe we are the only accident that worked.
Possibility number 2, life is common, but intelligence is rare.
This one is fascinating. It suggests that just because you have life doesn't mean you get Shakespeare or rocket scientists.
The source brings up the dinosaurs here.
Right. Life existed on Earth for billions of years without developing high intelligence. The dinosaurs were the dominant species for 150 million years. They didn't build radios. They didn't go to the moon. They just ate each other.
So intelligence isn't the goal of evolution. Survival is.
Exactly. The source suggests that the asteroid collision 66 million years ago was a necessary accident. It wiped out the dominant species, the dinosaurs, and opened a niche for mammals to evolve.
So without that random rock hitting Earth, maybe we'd just have really smart lizards running around, but no radio telescopes.
We might find a galaxy just full of moss and bacteria and giant beasts, but no one to talk to.
Possibility number 3 is the scary one. Self-destruction.
The theory that intelligent life tends to destroy itself. As soon as a civilization discovers nuclear energy or advanced bioengineering, it creates the tools of its own demise.
It reminds me of the great filter theory. Maybe civilizations inevitably blow themselves up before they can colonize the stars.
The source specifically mentions nuclear war or engineered viruses. Given our own history and that stupid behavior quote we started with, you can't rule it out.
And finally, possibility number 4. They are out there, but we miss them. Or they're ignoring us.
Well, NASA mentions the Drake equation, which is this chain of numbers trying to estimate the number of civilizations. We are filling in the blanks. We know the number of stars. We're learning the number of planets. But we still don't know the fraction that develop technology or how long they last.
But the source ends on a very specific warning about this possibility 4, the Columbus warning.
Yeah, we are sending out signals. We have the Voyager probes. We have radio broadcasts. We are shouting, hello, into the dark. But the source asks, is that smart?
It compares a meeting between us and a more advanced civilization to the Native Americans meeting Columbus.
And as the text dryly notes, I don't think they thought they were better off for it.
If they are out there and they can travel between stars, they are vastly more powerful than us. Maybe staying quiet is the smart move.
It raises an important question. Are we ready for what we might find? Or are we just children shouting in a dark forest full of predators?
I think I'll sleep with the lights on tonight. But there's one final twist, one final thought the source leaves us with regarding what we might actually meet.
Oh, right, the biological limit.
We always imagine aliens as biological little green men or monsters with tentacles. But the source says that's unlikely.
Think about the timeline again. Biological life bodies like ours is fragile. It doesn't handle space radiation well. It has a short lifespan. It needs specific temperatures.
So what survives the trip?
Machines. The source suggests that if we meet an alien civilization, we probably won't be meeting biological creatures. We will be meeting their creations.
Mechanical or electronic life.
Exactly. Once a civilization reaches a certain level of technology, they likely replace themselves with AI or merge with machines. Electronic life is durable. It can shut down for 1,000 years and wake up. It doesn't need air.
So the dominant life form of the universe probably isn't biological, it's silicon.
Which brings us full circle. We started this whole deep dive talking about computer viruses, informational life in a silicon medium.
And we might end up realizing that silicon life is the only thing capable of surviving the silence of the stars.
It seems likely. We are just the biological bootloader for the real digital life to come.
Well, on that cheerful note, we are defying chaos, we are rewriting our own genetic code, and we are likely paving the way for our robot successors.
It's a lot to process.
It certainly is. Thanks for diving in with us today. It's a big, messy, beautiful universe out there. Keep looking up, stay curious, but maybe keep your voice down.
See you next time.